Hello and welcome to the program. I am Abisola Adebayo. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has imposed fresh cash withdrawal limits on individuals and organizations, which will become effective on January 9, 2023. According to a memo issued by the CBN to banks earlier this week, individuals will only be able to withdraw 100,000 naira per week from over-the-counter point-of-sales machine or automated teller machines (ATMs), while organizations can access up to 500,000 naira per week. The memo signed by the Cbn'S Director of Banking Supervision, Aruna Mustafa, directed banks to load only 200 naira and lower denominations into their ATMs. This means Nigerians will only be able to withdraw 20,000 naira per day from ATMs when the directive becomes effective. The Apex Bank claimed that this move is aimed at reducing the amount of physical cash circulating in the economy and also encourage more electronic-based transactions. Anyways, for more insight into this development, economic expert Kalu Aja joins me now to, discuss more about it. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Let me start by asking, the fresh cash withdrawal limit has, unsurprisingly elicited mixed reactions from Nigerians. But why exactly do you think the central bank is reducing cash withdrawals for Nigerians?
Hi, Abisola. Well, the simple reason is that there's a cashless banking policy, right? The central bank wants to move Nigeria away from a huge cash economy to an economy that is more plastic, online banking, because cash is expensive to manage, to maintain, to look after, right? So the whole idea is take off cashless, improve productivity, get the cash flowing through electronic means so it can be better tracked, more reported, can work better on it, right? So that policy has been there since 2012. I think this is just the coming home, really, of that policy. It's been suspended, but I think now it's coming to fore. That's the official reason that we have, right? Many other reasons are there, the kidnapping, the banditry, the corruption, the vote buying, the need to tax more what you can then see. Those are the other reasons. But I think the main reason is a cashless banking policy that the CBN has been trying to implement for a while now.
Right, so, we kind of already knew this was coming when the CBN said around 85% of the country's currency is outside the bank and it needs to take measures to mop up cash in circulation. Do you actually think this policy, don't you think it's maybe quite harsh, or do you think it's the way to go to, mop up the cash in circulation?
Well, it's a total withdrawal, really, not even mop up, total withdrawal of all naira in circulation, right? And it's designed to be uncomfortable. The idea is to make it very uncomfortable to have cash going forward. But this was it's a sledgehammer blow. All the cash you have, wherever it is in the world, has to come back to a Nigerian bank before January 31st. So it's wide, it's sweeping. And that's the whole idea that CBN is trying to implement. Get all the cash in, let's know where the cash is coming from, so that going forward, they can know where the cash is going to, and they can better track it. That's why they've asked them not to load high denomination cash in ATMs. And CBN has been clear, they're going to make it difficult to do cash transactions. So yeah, to your question, yes, it's difficult, cumbersome, and it is a pain. But I think the pain is CBN's strategy to make us transit from holding paper naira to now holding electronic naira. I think that's their strategy.
Anyways, Gordon Emefiele, that's the governor of CBN now, also said that they are planning to reduce the volume of higher denominations in circulation to tame inflation. Do you agree that this policy can indeed tame inflationary pressure?
I don't think so. I mean, inflation in Nigeria is really caused by the lack of supply of those goods and services. Let's take rice, for example. The price of rice is up in Nigeria. It's not caused by just too much naira chasing rice. It's really caused by not enough rice being available in the market for people to buy. So the price has gone up. If you restrict the amount of naira in circulation, that won't make rice supply increase. So I'm not sure how you can fight inflation by reducing the amount of cash in circulation. Nigerians can still write checks, you can still buy rice with POS, you can still transfer money to buy rice. The rice sellers are selling at replacement cost because the cost of doing business in Nigeria is high. They have to import, they have to pay expensive PMS, they have to pay for power supply that is expensive, and all these costs go back to the price of rice. So if there was more productivity inside Nigeria, if we could manufacture cheaper, then prices would fall, irrespective of the, should we say, the volume. Would then have the normal inflation driven by volume of naira. But for now, it's really a supply issue. So I'm not sure restricting naira would affect inflation really in a meaningful or strategic way. Yeah.
So another thing in this policy is that Nigerians will only be able to withdraw 20,000 naira per day from ATM. To what extent would this affect the average Nigerian?
Well, it's going to be a shock, especially for those that are not financially included. I think for the quote-unquote Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja crowd that have the ATMs and the mobile banking, they might not feel the shock a lot. Remember, this is the strategy to make it difficult and hard to hold Naira so that you transit to mobile and e-Naira and e-banking, more or less. So it's going to be a pain. But I also think that it's also more of an opportunity, right? I mean, if you go to Kenya, they are buying food in bukas with their phone. This is like 100 naira transactions. They are paying with their phone. They don't have, don't have to be a smartphone. It's SMS. They pay M-Pesa and all that. So that's a big opportunity for Nigerians to transit away from cash. More jobs are going to be created. If we can have the artisanal farmers, the plumbers, the carpenters, the hairdressers, move away from cash and use more of e-banking, mobile banking and all that. Now we have the telcos doing banking. So it will be a pain if you remain in cash. That's really what's going to happen. So you have an incentive now to leave cash and perhaps do more transactions, e-banking and mobile banking. Yeah.
So I want you to particularly react to how this policy will affect the unbanked. You know, how would it affect them, and what do you think maybe the government or the CBN could do to cushion the effect on them?
Yeah, well, Nigeria has a huge, should we say, financially excluded population. I think it's more than 50%, the last data I saw. So that's folks that do not have a formal banking, should we say, account. This cashless policy is to bring them in. The way they want to do it is to say, we have the telcos now. You don't have to have a smartphone. If you have an NIN-enabled phone that can do SMS, then your phone number is your bank account. So really now, potentially the only unbanked or the only financially excluded Nigerians will be Nigerians that have no GSM coverage. So if you have no GSM coverage and no phone line that's NIN enabled, then you are technically, potentially completely unbanked. So this is the plan by CBN. If you don't have a phone, you are unbanked. We really can't help you on that. But if you have a phone, they will want you to go away from cash and transit to doing mobile banking, because now they have the infrastructure to offer that. So if you are in that space where you have a phone, but you don't have a bank account, this is targeted at you. This is trying to get you to leave that space and to then have a mobile wallet to do your day-to-day transactions. Difficult transition, right? But that's the plan. They want to move people away from that cash-based economy to a more financially included economy that is mobile banking, especially mobile with the SMS texting.
Right, so I also want you to react to how you think this policy will influence the usage of the e-Naira. Do you see Nigerians finally keying into the initiative?
I just think the e-Naira has not been sold. People don't know what it is. Lots of downloads, but very, very low usage, right? And when you see the banks come out with their own, should we say, money market products, right? I think e-Naira is going to struggle a bit. e-Naira is a wallet. It's exactly the same thing that the telco guys are doing right now, but it's not really been explained or sold by the Central Bank of Nigeria. They haven't gone down to tell the average carpenter and meat seller. This is what eNaira is. This is how you can use it, and this is the benefit to you of using it. It's a wonderful product. You don't need the bank account to move money around. You can receive payments and make payments with the eNaira. So this creates the conditions for eNaira to thrive. But if you don't sell it, nobody would use it. I see the bigger winners being the telcos and eNaira still being very, very on the side. The only way I see eNaira becoming usable or gaining traction is if the government mandates eNaira to pay for government services. Maybe customs says, hey, you have to pay for input into eNaira, or you want to pay for land documents, use eNaira, then you have some traction. But apart from that, people don't know what it is. People downloaded it and okay, we're expecting the coaches to buy dollar or to do quote unquote crypto. It didn't happen, they abandoned it. So opportunity is there for the CBN to sell it if they want to. Otherwise, I don't see it getting traction even with this policy.
Now, so finally, before I let you go, the lawmakers in the Senate, they've asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to withdraw this policy because it would inconvenience a lot of Nigerians. Do you see that working? Do you see the CBN withdrawing this policy and maintaining the status quo?
I don't see CBN withdrawing the policy because they are within their rights to do a cashless policy. There's a policy out there, it's been accepted, it's been approved. This is part of that policy, i.e. restrict and make cash usage harder. They put a cap on, they put a cost on it. You can get more cash if you want to, but it will cost you. So they haven't restricted or banned it. It's just going to cost you, right? And the central banks, of course, is independent, right? They can do what they are doing. They are well within their rights. We might not like it, but they have the legal powers to do what they are doing. It's well within their purview, right? It's not just them doesn't like it, they can pass a law and say, okay, there will be no that only cash will be used. They can restrict the cashless banking. That's what they can do, right? But the CBN governor you can see what he did yesterday. I saw him with a picture of the president, basically saying, "I have the cover of the president," right? That's what the message is passing. So they're going to measure muscles and all that. But I see the CBN ultimately prevailing. Overall, let's make no mistake, this is going to cause a lot of disruption. People are going to have a lot of, hardship to transit from how they are used to buying and selling, which is cash, to using mobile and GSM banking. It will cause some problems. But is it for good? Is it going to make things better? I think the answer is yes. So once that answer is yes, ultimately, the more people see that it's easier to use mobile banking and it's safer and cost less, then you'd have that snowball effect that more and more will get adopted, and this will become, should we say, our policy. A long time ago, ATMs were a thing of curiosity. Now, everyone uses an ATM, everyone uses a card. Same thing with POS. Not many people trusted POS. Now we all use POS one way or the other. So ultimately, I think CBN has time and technology on their side. Yeah.
Right, so before I let you go, finally this time, like you said earlier, this is going to come as a shock. This policy will come as a shock to a lot of people. And would also not deny the fact that it's going to take a while getting used to this all withdrawing 100,000 per week, 500,000 for businesses, 20,000 naira a day. What do you think the government should do in the meantime before the people get used to it? What do you think they should do, to cushion the effect on ordinary Nigerians, most especially?
Yeah, I think there are some quick wins. For instance, if you're asking guys to transit to ATMs, to mobile banking, sorry, reduce the cost of transfers. That's going to be a really quick win. And say, listen, if you are transferring money from bank to bank or POS to POS and all that, drop the cost. The telcos have very, very cheap costs. So I think that would force the banks to drop the cost. But the CBN can also go in and say, for now, we're going to really allow guys to transit maybe for a year, zero cost, so they get used to it, right? So we eliminate all those costs, even the VAT on transfer. Not we pay VAT on transfer. Take out all those costs so that I don't pay any cost when I hold Naira. I also shouldn't pay any cost if I hold eNaira in my e-wallet, right? That should be the thinking. So that way there's no change, really. It's just going to be a change of where and the type of Naira I'm holding. But if you make it a cost, right, people get, it's going to cost me a lot to do this. You transfer money, there's VAT here, transfer fee here. Take all that out. do a transition at zero cost or the same cost that I would hold Naira. That way, there's an incentive. Right now, there's just a stick. You want to put the carrots as well. So there's an incentive for folks to then transit on their own. So those Nigerians that do not have any bank account at all are incentivized to come on their own and do that banking. You have to pull people in, not force people to come in.
Right. Economic expert Kalu Aja, thank you so much for joining us on the program today, and thank you for your contributions.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Well, we'll go on a short break now, and we'll continue the conversation when we come back. Stay with us.